Hello and welcome to Ink Well Spoken Presents Common Genius, Uncommon Destiny. I'm your host, Reggie Key, and I'm joined today by Quiana Key. How you doing, Quiana?
I'm doing well, Reggie. How are you?
I'm all right. So are you excited to be here?
Yeah, I'm so happy to be here with you today.
Are you excited to learn what your genius is?
Yeah, let's see what this is all about.
All right. So tell the people who you are, what you do, and how you and I met. How do we know each other?
Well, we met back in 1997
97.
at my parents' house over a game of spades. So we have a long history. I am your wife.
Oh, yeah, this is
Yes,
true.
I am your wife of over 17 years, going on 18 years. So that's how we know each other from way back when through mutual friends from college. And what is your additional question?
This tell me about who you are and what you do.
Okay, who I am. I'm a wife, I'm a mother of two children, Josiah and Maya. And I'm also a minister. I'm also in the corporate arena. So I've been in corporate America now for 21 years, going on 22 years. So I work
At
for
the
an
turn of the
automotive,
century.
yes, I work for an automotive supplier here in the Charlotte metro area, and I'm in quality. I'm a quality director.
Okay. So, do you have an idea? Well, the whole purpose and premise of this series is to tap into this genius potential that I believe everyone has on the inside of them, according to a book that I've written. The name of the book is also the name of this series, Common Genius, Uncommon Destiny. And what is really establishing is that genius is something that is a commonality amongst us all. It's not something that's reserved for the elite. It's not something that's reserved for the Einsteins of the world. It's something that is shared amongst us all, even though the components of it are different from person to person. They vary according to passion, talent, and purpose, which is what we're going to talk about today. But when you combine those things together, they unlock something on the inside of you that allows you to be effective in the different areas that you've mentioned. You're a mother, you're a minister, you're a director of quality in corporate America, and the ways that you can impact your children, the ways that you can impact your church, the ways that you can impact corporate America, your community, your neighborhood, everything is linked to you understanding that you have genius on the inside of you. So with that, I just want to ask before, if you can just kind of erase everything I just said from your memory, and erase the past, 10 years, because you already know where this is going. Before we established that this was something that we would spend a good deal of time developing and writing about and speaking about, did you identify yourself as a genius?
No, I believe that I'm smart, I'm intelligent, but I never really thought about myself as a genius.
All right, then this is why you're here. Now, why not? So, you did engineering. You had good grades coming out of high school. You had good grades in college.
I did all right in college.
Engineering kind of takes a little 1-2 punch. I know about that. But you had this certain air about you that you knew that you could handle the books, but yet you didn't consider yourself to be a genius. So why is that? Who do you consider to be a genius? Or who did you consider to be a genius though?
I didn't consider myself to be a genius because oftentimes that moniker is put on like an Einstein, like someone that has a bunch of letters after their name, or some letters like a PhD after their name. A genius, I think of someone that has invented something, or
Mhm.
created something from scratch that is widely known, widely used. And I haven't thought of myself in that way
You
before.
almost did though. You had a patent. You had something that you wish you had patented. We won't get into that right now. It's a whole nother conversation.
Many times, yes. But I didn't grasp it. I didn't go forward with those patents. And it's like, oh shoot, maybe I could have been considered a genius even in my own mind had I proceeded with those or made some progress on those patents. But I've always thought that I'm capable, that I'm smart, I'm intelligent, and I'm able to solve problems and things because that's what we do as engineers. That's what we study for engineering. But I always feel like there's more and more for me to learn. And at times this name of a genius or title of a genius feels like it's a cap in a
Yeah,
way.
like at the end of a lifetime of work,
Yeah.
in retrospect, you can be called a genius. But can you see how if you put off this label, you use the word moniker, which I like, but it's really a label. If you put off this label until after your life's work has completed, to me, there's a chance of you missing the mark because there's something about realizing that you have something to offer in the now. And unfortunately, labels do dictate a lot of who we are and what we say we can do. If you put that off to the end of your life and then look back and say, or allow someone else to say that you're a genius, it may be that cap that you saw on you was actually never there in the first place. Um, you associated genius to something interesting that I haven't really heard before, and you associated it to like a patent almost. Like, Einstein worked in a patent office. You mentioned Einstein, and he is the bar that a lot of us set. Even young kids are always mentioning Einstein, and you mentioned this patent as if, so it's not like you don't have genius ideas. This is what I heard you say. I don't know. What I heard you say is, I have genius ideas, but because I didn't carry them through and get them patented, I'm not a genius. That's interesting.
Yeah, I think and just, with us talking about it and just thinking about, what you consider a genius, you do think a lot about the sciences or engineering and just technical. I think of technical creativity. Maybe it's because I'm an engineer, I think about that. But the other thing that you brought up too is just the timing of when we talk about this label of genius. Maybe it is at the end of a life or, end of your work. And right now, there's a lot of discussion about giving people their flowers while they're living.
Yeah.
Instead of being considered a legend at the end of your life, why can't you be considered a living legend? And the same thing, I guess, for a genius. Why can't you be considered a living genius?
Why
The other
not?
thing, too, is I think another reason why I haven't thought of myself as a genius or had, really embraced that label is because it can seem kind of braggadocious as well.
It
And
can. You know what? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to say, like, how do we're constantly talking about trying to be humble and,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
don't want maybe brag too much. You do need to toot your own horn here and there, but to say, walk into a room or, walk amongst, peers or friends and say, I'm a genius. Like, how
You
do you
know,
bring that into conversation without sounding braggadocious, even if you do think you're a genius?
you don't bring it into conversation. It's a way that you see yourself more so than anything else, because how you see yourself then projects confidence when you come into a room. And it's not that you want to come into a room dominating it with overconfidence, but it's, what it reminds me of? It reminds me of Grey's Anatomy doing the superhero pose before you get ready to launch out into whatever. If you're about to do a presentation or whatever have you, you just do your superhero pose in the mirror to be like, yeah, I'm it. I'm the stuff. I know what I'm doing. And you don't, there's nothing, though there are shirts that we sell. We're not asking you to like put on, we're not asking you to be Wile E. Coyote. You know what I mean? Like super genius. We're not asking you to hand out cards with that on it, but it's just a paradigm shift to accept this mantle, whereas in the past you had not. Um, what did you said something earlier, and I want to try to go back. You said a couple of good things, and I went, oh, I remember being in church one time, and the pastor, I knew it was a trap. I could feel it was a trap, but I couldn't help it because it was silent. He asked the congregation, who amongst you is humble? He was like, raise your hands. And I was like, the minute he said it, I'm like, that's a trap. But then it got quiet, and I was like, well, I don't want him to feel like we're not listening, so I raised my hand. And then he called me out, and maybe I don't know who else was raising their hand at the same time, but I remember he was like, it's, you can't be humble if you're calling yourself humble. It's like an oxymoron to do
Mm,
that. And I was like, so that's not what this is at all. You it's a way to see yourself in the best light. I always like to define humility as not thinking too lowly or too highly of yourself. And what I'm trying to address in the community, especially amongst our youth and even some adults who still have some young mentalities, is to not think too lowly of yourself,
mhm,
to
mm,
not disassociate from something that is a good label. Einstein has this infamous saying, and I'm debating whether or not I'll continue to mention this in the series, but I'll mention it now because Einstein is the one who we set this bar against ourselves and say, well, he's a genius, but not me. Einstein said, if you judge a fish by how well it can climb a tree, it'll spend its whole life thinking it's stupid. And I bring that into the conversation to get into this other aspect of genius where Einstein was an academic genius. He was a genius in the realm of physics. And we are not trying to discredit his genius. His genius is specific to a very prestigious lane in the physics world
mm.
that he has left an indelible imprint on it, or a mark on it, that everyone honors and recognizes. When we sit there and say, well, I'm no Einstein, so I can't be a genius, you are judging yourself. It's not even like somebody else is judging you. You are judging yourself based off of somebody else's element. His element is physics, yours is not. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not saying you, but
Well, I think too that that brings to mind something that we talk about in the corporate arena. So, or even, in technical circles, we talk about subject matter experts.
yep.
And I think even that could be in the lane or form of a genius. Like, you are a genius in this particular area. Maybe in some other areas you're not, but in this area, you got it. And so I think that's what you're saying too with Einstein. Who's to say what his family life was like, what his
Good point.
spiritual life was like, what his business savvy was like. Maybe he's just a genius just in this one technical area, but these other areas it's a little different. So, like, really owning that title, I think sometimes, at least for me, I'm thinking about all these different aspects of my life, or even just in one aspect where there's so many different variables in it, or different things with it. Like, I consider myself a marriage genius? There's a lot of things that are incorporated with marriage. I don't know that I'm a genius. I'm a subject matter expert on my husband, but I'm
Oh,
not,
you
I don't
are.
know if I don't know compared to other people.
Ah,
But I don't know, would I say I'm a genius at marriage just because I'm in marriage? So it's an interesting discussion about this word genius and how it kind of morphs, and how it's viewed in different circles.
it is interesting, and I'm glad. I like this idea of relating it to a subject matter expert. Um, some people can be subject matter experts or SMEs in several different categories, but most of the time we're saying, sticking your find your lane and then stay in it, right? And there's some who have, various lanes, but it's just at least start with one. At least start with one thing that you can talk about, you can teach someone well that nobody else can do. And so that's the whole point. But we're going to get this is a good way to begin talking about genius, but we're going to break it down into three very distinct components. The components of genius that we're going to discuss are your passion, talent, and purpose. If you can identify these three things according to how I've outlined them in my book, then you'll be able to tap into your genius. And so, with that said, the first word, passion. Can you tell me something, at least one thing that you are passionate about?
Um, I'm passionate actually about leadership.
You are.
I'm
I agree.
passionate about effective communication. I like people that are not, vibing for whatever reason, and there's just miscommunication. I want people to really interact on a good level and in a mutually beneficial way. So I would say leadership, communication, that kind of leads into relationship building. And so, and that's like in any arena, whether it's ministry or family or the corporate space. I'm kind of thinking about it from a corporate perspective as
That's
well,
what I
because
was going
that's
to
where
ask
I
you.
spend a lot of my time
Yep.
anyway. And over 20 years, I'm a subject matter expert in some things because this is where I spend the most of my time. But yeah, I would say leadership, communication, and relationships. Those are some of the things I'm passionate about.
Okay. Cool. It's good to know what you're passionate about, because passion is what drives a person. Passion is what allows you to meet an obstacle and still want to press through it, still want to overcome it and not be overcome by it, but to plow through it if you have passion. Without passion, life is going to be pretty, I don't want to say it's pointless, but it's going to be pretty difficult to be motivated. So, okay. Now I'm going to redefine passion though. And at this point, I have to deviate from, what people define passion to be. Most of the time, if people associate passion to love, like, do what you love in life. And I don't subscribe to that at all. Um, in fact, I have to give credit where credit is due. I didn't come up with this definition of passion. I gleaned it from a book called The Assignment by Mike Murdoch. And Mike Murdoch basically says this. He says, hey, look, if you want to find out what your assignment is, you need to find out what makes you angry. And by
Mm.
assignment, he means like, what is your purpose on this planet? What have you been put on this planet for? And he says that he calls it the Popeye moment. Popeye would get beat up by Bluto and get beat up by whoever. Most of the time it was Bluto. I can't remember anybody else that ever beat up and messed with Popeye. But he would get to the point where he'd be almost pummeled, and he would just say, I've had all I can stand and I can't stand no more. He would pull out that spinach. And so that's the point that he's like, what's your Popeye moment? What's the thing that just really irks you the wrong way, or rubs you the wrong way and irks you? And so basically that gets into, what is it that you hate?
Mhm.
And so this is the exact opposite end of the spectrum of love. We're going from do what you love, when I'm saying like, nah, say that for marriage, do what you, or figure out what it is you hate and then focus on that. So what do you think about that?
I think that makes sense because when you think about careers and what your life's work is going to be, it's going to get tough, and there's going to be some ups and some downs with it. And so when there are those lows in whatever your life's work is, how do you push through that? And that passion to fix something that is broken, um, I feel like is the thing that's going to push us through those low moments when we're doing our life's work. So
Now,
yeah.
this is interesting because you have the advantage of having heard this many times. I didn't say that the thing that you hate is something that's broken in the world. I don't think. Did I say that?
No.
I was getting ready to say it, but then you spoke it as if I had said it. So
You're
let's
one.
just back up for a second. I
Sorry.
appreciate it. But let's back up for a second, because this is true though. Like the thing that this is how you identify what you hate. You identify what you hate by how it affects your life in a negative way. And most of the time, something that affects your life in a negative way is something that's broken. It's a system that's not working. It's a system that's not functioning. It's a system that causes you to be abused, gives you some grief. It's not a person. If it is a person, it's a person who's been impacted by a broken system. For example, racism is something that is easy to hate, which creates racist people, but it's not the people themselves who we should target and hate. It's the system that gives people this privilege, that gives people this entitlement to think that a country belongs to them or anything about a business belongs to them because of the color of their skin versus our skin. And that's a system that creates that type of inequality and inequity and injustice, right? So when we start getting into what is it that you hate, somebody can say I hate racist people, but in reality, because you can't fix people, you can fix racism. And because racism is broken. Racism is a broken system in America and in every country, really. It's a system of hatred actually in the world. that is used to oppress other people. And so that's an example of what something looks like when it's broken and impacts you, but also most of the time, if it impacts you, it's impacting other people. And then that may be what drives you to fix it because you're like, you have this moment where you're like, can somebody please fix this? I mean, we've been trying to fix this in this country for the past, couple of centuries, right?
Mhm.
But when you look at it from this perspective, it's something that's broken that affects you negatively. And then because it affects you negatively over time, you just begin to hate it. Like, I wish somebody would do something about this. When in truth, that somebody is you. If you find yourself constantly talking about it, constantly, every time somebody, man, I know what Quiana about to talk about. Good gracious. She about to talk about how people don't communicate effectively in corporate America. And what are you doing to fix it though? So that's what passion is driven by. It's driven by something that you hate that is broken in the world, in your community, in your neighborhood, in your school, in your business. So that being said, having redefined it in that way, Kiana,
You want me to tell you what I'm
I
passionate
wanted you
about?
to I wanted you to say yes.
Yes.
Tell me what you hate.
um, I hate self-serving leadership and ungodly leadership. I'm really passionate about that. It really irks me and angers me to see leaders who have blinders on when they're supposed to be leading people and really having a view of what the needs are of the people that they've been charged to lead. Communication, like petty miscommunication, relationships broken because people are too prideful or full of unforgiveness or whatever. um, yeah, they just won't open the lines of communication or just walk 2 feet over or two office doors over to speak to somebody because of something that happened years ago. So that's why I like the communication and the relationships and leadership. Those are the things that, I first answered and said I'm passionate about, but I'm passionate about those things because I have seen breakdowns in all three of those areas, and they have irked me to no end. So that's why I'm passionate about being a better leader, being a servant leader, and being an example of that. I'm passionate about really opening the lines of communication and figuring out how can we really get on the same page. And if we're not, why is that? Maybe we need to agree to disagree. But I want to understand why we can't get on the same page. And then again, building relationships, really talking to people when I don't need something, not only talking to them when I need something. So that's hopefully that answers your question.
Oh, absolutely. It answers the question. I mean, because I know you, I've seen how many books you read on leadership, to know that this is something that you really hone in on. It sounds like you've had some bad leaders, uh,
I've,
over your
I've
life.
seen some, I've had some really good leaders
I
though.
know, because I don't really hear you talk. I haven't heard you talk about bad leaders, but you've been, what I want to call, you've been bad leader adjacent.
Yes, I have seen some bad leadership in action. And sometimes we do have bad leadership moments. I'm not going to sit here and say that I'm a perfect leader by any stretch. I'm still growing, I'm still learning. But yeah, I've seen some bad leadership, and that actually sparked me to want to ascend the corporate ladder and be a leader in this space, because I
Okay.
saw opportunity. Like, yeah, I think I could do this better, or I see how I'm being led and I don't appreciate this. I think I want to try my hand at this so that I don't cause other people to feel the way that I'm feeling.
So that gets into my next question, because my next question was going to be, what can you do about it? Because it's one thing to identify something that's broken and just talk about it. Everybody can identify something when it's broken and talk about it, but what you going to do about it though? And so what I heard you say, and you can let me know if I heard correctly, and add to it if you like. What I heard you do about it, one thing I saw that you studied about it. You studied about leadership, and you said, "Hey, look, what I'm going to do is I'm going to, make it my goal to ascend the corporate ladder, and become a leader, an effective leader." to balance out these different instances where you saw ineffective leadership and ineffective communication. You say, I'm going to be a leader and a communicator who does things well. So
Yes.
tell me about your LinkedIn page. Tell me, I know there's a motto or there's a little tagline on your LinkedIn page.
Yes. So I changed that almost 2 years ago because I wanted the first contact that people have with me, at least virtually, to say more than just what my job title is, because
Mm-hmm.
I'm more than that. I wanted it says servant leader, bridge builder, barrier remover, and then it says automotive executive at the end.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to change, or I changed it because I want people to know what I bring to the table at first glance. And that what I bring to the table is actually transferable skills to any industry. Just because all of my experience is in one industry doesn't mean that I can't flex into other industries and still bring this servant leadership, bridge builder, barrier remover as good qualities and core competencies in other industries.
Let's talk about
So
that
it,
flex for a moment.
yeah,
I'm sorry, I heard this word flex. I gotta touch on that. I like that. So you said flex into this. This is how genius works. It starts locally. It starts in the one area that you have immediate what's the word, influence on, but then you flex it though, and it begins to spill over into other industries, into other people outside of your immediate range. That's exactly how genius works. It starts it starts and then it's like a pebble that you drop into the water and it just radiates. And so this is how you begin to effectively change the world, change the environment around you by your flex. So I heard that word and I just had to touch on that. I didn't mean to interrupt.
no, that's good. So yeah, I changed it a couple years ago, and I every once in a while I get people that mention, "Hey, I saw your title or your blurb, and I really really like it." And it does have a little bit of code in it, because with servant leadership, that is a phrase or a
For your
title
faith.
within Christian circles, so they know that okay, she might have some, godlike affiliations and things. Like she might be a praying woman. She might know what it means to be a servant leader, because the ultimate example is Jesus as a servant leader, and that's what I try and follow.
Amen.
Amen.
You even have some people take the tagline, right, and ask you if they can use it in their profile, right?
I've seen some people ask and some people just, take, but it's all good because even when I was trying to figure out what I wanted to put, I mean, servant leader, I don't have the coin on that. Like
Right,
that
right.
is out there. But I think bridge builder, I don't think I saw anybody else with that barrier remover, but it's there for other people to use, if somebody else feels like they fit that, because trust me, I'm not the only one
Right.
that does those things,
You don't have the
and they
corner
want
on
to use
the
it for
market.
their LinkedIn, go for it. I mean, it's
Right.
out there.
I mean, and again, this is how genius works. It is something that's not meant, you're not meant to keep it to yourself. You can't keep it to yourself. People are going to see it, they're going to ask about it, you're going to influence people, you're going to impart it. That's how you know you're in your genius potential. So let's get into, when I asked you, like, what do you do about this passion? What do you do about the thing that you see that's broken? That gets us to our next component in this three-part equation of genius as it relates to my book. And that is talent. So talent is pretty self-explanatory, right? Like talent, you know what you're talented at doing, and I'll give you a chance to brag on yourself again. But what I want to say about talent generically is that talent is the tool that we have to fix what's broken about our passion. So that's how these two things fit together. Once you know what your talent is, your talent can be used as a tool to fix what's broken in the world, which is what is behind or what drives your passion. So I'm putting the equation together as we're getting near the end now. Having said that, what is your tool? What's your talent?
My talent is, I would say, it's a few different things, and it's related to the bridge builder and barrier remover pieces on my LinkedIn profile. So like the bridge builder, I am very good at bringing the right people together to resolve issues. I'll go as high as I need to go to. I'll go as far down in the working level as I need to. It doesn't matter to me, what your title is or where you are in the organization. If you have an idea, you have experience, I will bring you in the room together to help resolve whatever issue it is that we're talking about. So I'm good at bringing people to the table and kind of making sure that every voice is heard, that all ideas are put on the table. I'm also pretty good at problem solving. I mean, this is what engineers do. We solve problems. We ask a lot of questions. We're very
No, don't
curious.
you ask questions.
I do ask a lot of questions. I'm good at planning, project management. So all of these different things. Also, I'm very good at presenting. So public speaking and communicating complicated thoughts and ideas down so that people can understand it and people can repeat it to others and people will remember it.
Okay. So when you began talking about what your talent was, I mean, your talent is, um, it's not as, how do I say this? Most people's talent is very black and white. Yours is more nuanced. And so you
Mm-hmm.
had to learn it, but I'm glad that you kept talking because I'm thinking like, well, how did you get to the place where you could bring people together? And I know people come to you a lot for job opportunities, and you're able to like, put resumes in such a way that they can, the connection is between them as an employee and them as the employer that they're looking for. So that's another way that you bring people together in a synergetic type of way. But where that talent was honed was this engineering degree that you referenced a couple of times. Like the engineering degree is such that it makes us problem solvers. And you've taken that problem solving, that technical aspect of problem solving, and applied it to human beings. This is even what's that field of study that Apostle Larry has.
Oh, the organizational development,
Organizational development, the
behavioral.
behavioral organization in that a thing, right?
It's something like that, but I think it's, like I do like to connect people with the knowledge and resources that they need, because sometimes people struggle with resumes or trying to get further in their career or preparing for an interview and all of that. And I just like to give them the resources that they need, ask them some questions about what is it that you're trying to do? Why are you trying to do it? And kind of course correct them if necessary. But yeah, just bringing people together with the people or the resources that they need so that they're not lost. I also don't like people being in the dark when there is light all around them or
Mm.
light that's beyond a threshold. Like they're right there, but they just need someone to, turn the flashlight in that area, or, just, introduce them to this person, and then it'll open up for them. So I like to do that as well, just kind of illuminate people's minds and even their networks and their resources so that they can get to the next level of whatever they're trying to do.
So if you had to put a couple of words, because your talent, you just filled up like my ear for the past like 5 minutes with what your talent is. But to make this equation really pop, you have to be able to take it's simple. You have to keep it simple. So what is the tool? What would you call your talent if it was a tool as it relates to the thing that you hate? What would you call your talent?
My talent is communicating.
Okay.
Oh yeah, that I think that covers the public speaking, that covers the relationships, that covers connecting people, because I have to communicate in order to do that.
And you know what it's interesting as I hear you and listen to you talk, and as I've been around your family for a long time now, you get this from your mama. You get this from your mama, and it's this an important point to talk about, because for those who can't define their talent, they have to know that it's generational. This talent does not just crop up and manifest out of you just because you. It's because you come from a lineage of communicators. You come from a lineage of people who have had similar. There's another word that I want to say for talent, but it escapes me right now, so I'll just keep using the word talent. But these different features are things that are generational. They're tied to your great 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 grandparents, and if they flow through you from both sides, sometimes you can get a different mix of talent, but everything is definitely generational. We see this best in athletes and in entertainers. See, their children picking up the mantle and carrying it on. And yes, there's some training that has to go involved. Yes, there's raw talent, and that talent has to be put to work. But that raw talent comes from someone before them. And so yeah, just in hearing you talk, I'm like, man, that's Linda Qualls right there. So that's pretty cool. All right, so we're getting towards the end of this equation. If you've been following, we started with genius, and we said that genius is, we're just doing basic math. It's your passion plus your talent. And then do you remember the last point, the last component?
Purpose.
Purpose. And purpose is really easy because we've been talking around purpose this whole entire time. Your purpose in life, and I guess I got to give Rick Warren a shout out, even though I'm not going in the same direction as he is, but it lines up. Your purpose in life is to identify your God-given talent and apply it to this God-given passion that you have. I didn't mention this before, but this thing that you hate is something that God has given you, because he has allowed the world to break your heart in a small way, how it breaks his heart. Because he intends to put you on this planet. He put you on this planet 40 plus years ago, because he was like, I need you to fix this, because this is broken in the world. This is breaking my heart, and I'm going to make it break your heart, or I'm going to put you in an environment and put you in such a way how I've created you fearfully and wonderfully, so that it breaks your heart too, so that you can pick up a tool and then fix it on my behalf, as my regent, as my representation, as my ambassador of heaven on earth. And so the purpose of, I'm going to say it again, the purpose of everyone on this planet is to identify what it is that you have as a talent, and then apply it to your passion to begin to fix it. And as you begin to do that, you will discover, unlock, and spread your genius. It's really that simple.
Yeah.
So what say you? What do you think about that?
No, I think that's a good way to really define genius and make it achievable, make it touchable, make it tangible for everyone, and
I love all the words that you've used.
Not just everybody. Yeah, not just everybody else, or someone that's so far away or has done so much.
Yep.
And then just really, it does really simplify purpose, because that's what everybody wants to know. What is my purpose in
My
life?
purpose.
Why am I here? What was I created for? Why did you make me? And to begin to formulate that, and then also see, okay, this is what it looks like in this stage of my life right now. But it may morph into other things as I go from being a wife to being a mother to being in the workforce to going into a second career, or starting a business, or going into retirement. Like, as we go through these stages in life, our talents may evolve, our passion will still be the same for the most part, but now maybe we're adding to our arsenal of talents that can address some of the things that we're so passionate about. So I'm looking forward to that as well. Just I'm 20 years into this career, but there's so much more for me to do that I think that could help address leadership and relationships and communications, and not just in the workplace, in ministry, in church, with young people, or in marriages, things like that. So I think, putting our talent towards our passion, it is our purpose. So yep, definitely unlocks genius. Like it, love it.
Then just as a kind of formality, would you consider yourself to be a genius now? I asked you to remember what it was like before this whole concept came to me and I began talking about it, writing about it. And you said like, yeah, I didn't associate myself to being a genius, but how about now? Do you consider yourself to be a genius?
I do, but now I have some words to put to it. I have an equation to put to it. I have different elements of my equation to put to it. So I think it's helpful when you can articulate it in a certain way and back it up, basically.
Yep, you're putting pen to paper and coming out with a book.
I'm working on it. Yes.
What's the name? What's the working title of your book?
Okay, I got to look at my dry erase board. It is Command the Mountain, Speak God's Word, Master Your Emotions, Lead with Confidence.
Okay, can you give us the elevator pitch of your book?
Oh, you put me on the spot. Okay. Sure. So Command the Mountain is really taken from Mark 11:23, which talks about speaking directly to your mountains such that they are removed. And it's really focusing on the emotions that leaders go through. All leaders go through emotions like they get angry, we get sad, we get fearful, we get weary. And so when we are experiencing those emotions, but we still have to go out there and lead, this book gives you examples of biblical leaders who have experienced those same things, as well as declarations and prayers that you can speak over yourself such that you can go out and lead with confidence, but have your emotions in check and in line with what God says about you as a leader.
Hey, that was all right.
Okay, good.
Man, do you have a publisher for that?
I do. Water to Wine Press Publishing is working on my book. If he likes the title, I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, that title hit different when you said it this time. The thing that we were workshopping before, that sounds like you changed it. So that sounds good.
Yeah, I definitely changed it. I have a couple, but I really like that one because saying command the mountain, speak God's word, master your emotions, lead with confidence. It's kind of bringing it all together, and people can hopefully clearly see what to expect by taking up this book and reading it.
All right. So I got to give a shout out to Bruce George. Bruce George helped bring the culmination of all these different things that have been in my mind together. A few years ago, he came out with this whole concept called Genius is Common. And it's about making sure that we reclaim this word as something that is accessible to everybody. And it's almost like a syndrome from The Incredibles. If everybody's a super, then nobody will be a super. Like nobody will stand out because we're all at this super level. We're all operating with this idea that there's something on the inside of us worth sharing that's powerful to change ourselves and to change the world around us. So shout out to Bruce George and the Genius is Common movement. And that's pretty much it for me. This is, again, a concept that's being talked about. It's been written about from my book, Common Genius, Uncommon Destiny. You can get it on Amazon. You can get it as an electronic ebook or even as a physical book. It is a flip book, meaning it has it's like two books in one. One side addresses this topic of genius from a very generic side, but the other side addresses this topic from a spiritual side, a faith-based side, because the Bible calls genius the mind of Christ. And so even as I end on that, I just want to speak a word of encouragement to you, because over here in the Key household, we have kingdom edification and exhortation, KEE. And so, Quiana, what I hear for you is that even, I got an image of you, even as you're speaking about these mountains that your book is being written about. As you're speaking to these mountains, you specifically, as you're speaking to these mountains and they are being moved by the command of your voice because you are an effective communicator, I see these mountains beginning to switch. We talked about how, it's good to be a subject matter expert in one area. And as you begin to be in one area, a genius in that area, you can begin to influence and inspire other areas. And in the spiritual realm, we call those areas mountains, the industries that are in the world. And even as you've been one who's been a pioneer, even as you've been one who has been set on the business mountain, I see, the shell game when it's like 3 shells and you got trying to follow the bean or whatever it is that's underneath it. I see these mountains like switching out. You said earlier, like I'm not a genius marriage. I'm not a marriage genius, but this is what's happening. As you have proven yourself in the business mountain, these mountains are beginning to switch. These mountains are beginning to trade off. You're going to begin to be able to flow effortlessly into the different industries and bring your skill, bring your talent of communicator, and bring your passion of those who lack leadership, effective leadership, and have ineffective communication skills. You're going to be able to transfer this knowledge that you've gained. You're going to be able to transfer this experience that you have and become a subject matter expert in various fields, in various industries, in various mountains. And it's going to happen fluidly. It's going to happen effortlessly. It's going to happen so that the industries can be changed from the ground up. But even as they're being changed at a grassroots level, it's really the mountain of Zion that's being cast down upon all of them, so that they all flow into his kingdom for his kingdom's sake. Even as you are a minister of the gospel of Jesus Christ, and even as you are a pastor, one who shepherds God's people and leads them to where they should go. In Jesus' name.
In Jesus' name, I receive it. Amen.
And it's already recorded, so all you gotta do is go back and listen.
Good.
So thank you for helping me just get the word out. Thank you for taking the time to hear. Thank you for your contributions. And this is, it's under an hour, so we always try to get this to right within an hour. And this is it. This is what Inkwell Spoken does. This is what Common Genius, Uncommon Destiny is all about. And we will catch up with you all next week.
Good. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us for this week's episode. Make sure you pick up the book, Common Genius, Uncommon Destiny, by my dad, Reggie Legend, available on Amazon and at inkwellspoken.com. Connect with us at Inkwellspoken on all social media platforms. If you enjoy our content, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an upload.